Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and tonight I'm here to review Layton's Mystery Journey, Katrielle and the Millionaires Conspiracy for the 3DS. Yeah, that title's kind of a mouthful, but then again, so is this whole game. So, you've heard me talk about Layton a little bit on this channel. I've reviewed 3 of his games, did a Catholic review on one of them, and also reviewed his amazing crossover with Phoenix Wright, which is actually my second favorite game at present, next to Breath of the Wild. And so, since this is the first official Layton game in 4 years, they had a lot to live up to. Especially after the really crazy spin-off on the iPhone didn't exactly do too well. So, first off, one of the main new things about this brand new Layton reboot is that the main character has been switched to a female. Not just any female, but the daughter of Professor Layton. Her name is Katrielle, often abbreviated to Kat, and she has one of the most amazing personalities I've ever seen in the entire Layton series. She's bright, vibrant, has an almost never-ending appetite, and many other amazing quirks that I really don't want to spoil for you, because part of the fun of me entering it was discovering what made her special and what made her so different from Hershel. Also, her relationship with her assistant and her talking dog, Hershel, are absolutely priceless. It would be if Phoenix Wright and Maya swapped places, as far as like Maya being the attorney and Phoenix being the assistant. That's basically how they play out, and almost every time the two of them get into a spat, it's amazing. Also, because the main character is female, the reason why Level 5 did this is because apparently more than half of the Layton fan base is female, so they wanted to appeal to their target demographic. And boy, does this game show it. Katrielle gets a ton of different outfits that you can dress her up in, and sometimes you'll even get fashion farthings instead of hint coins, and you can use those to purchase more outfits. And honestly, even though I'm a dude, I really liked that feature because, as you've seen in my videos, I'm kind of a t-shirt collector, so to sort of play around with the female equivalent of that was cool in a not creepy way. And if you're a huge Layton fan, there's even paid DLC that only costs approximately $8 to download a couple of extra puzzles plus some throwback uniforms, including a girl version of Luke's outfit, which is not too shabby. The daily puzzles have also received a nice upgrade. Layton games have always been known for their puzzles. This game is no exception, having the biggest collection of puzzles of any Layton game to date. And not the least of which are 300... I always forget how many days are in a year. But anyway, there's a puzzle a day for every day leading up to the game's year-long release date. And every time you solve one of those daily puzzles, you get 5 museum points. And you can use those museum points to purchase various memorabilia from the past Professor Layton titles, including some nice musical throwbacks in there. Now, some of you might be wondering, Paul, why have you spent over 3 minutes talking about outfits and daily puzzles when you should be talking about the game? And there's a good reason for that. That's probably the best part of this game. From here, it's just going to kind of go downhill, so brace yourself for quite a lot of negativity. So, the overall formula of Layton's Mystery Journey is nearly identical to that of Miracle Mask. You slide the stylus on the touchscreen, tap to investigate a point of interest. Sometimes it'll open up a hidden puzzle. Some areas you'll have to tap multiple times to receive either a hidden object or another hidden puzzle. And usually about 3 times per particular environment you stop at, you can find up to 3 or sometimes even 12 hint coins, because now they have spots where you can get 10 at a time. However, it still has the overarching problem of it seems like this title has taken a step back from the Layton formula in almost every way. First off, there's no stereoscopic 3D. So the previously spectacular environments that seemed like the magnifying glass was fading into the distance, you don't get that anymore, even if you have a new 3DS, which is really disappointing. And in addition to that, you sort of revisit the same locations a lot. There's not really a lot of scenic variety here, which was one of my biggest complaints about Miracle Mask, and they don't really do much to change that here. Although, unlike Miracle Mask, they do give you opportunities to search for hint coins again in areas that you've already been to, so that it artificially lengthens the number that you can get. The game's structure is also broken up into an episodic format. There's 12 cases altogether, and for the most part you can do them slightly out of order, as long as they're available to you, and each case is a little mystery that has 6 clues that you have to find, and once you find the 6th clue, you have the option to either solve the case or search for more hint coins and puzzles, which you can do that anyway after you beat the case, and there are some puzzles that don't become available until after you solve the case, so I don't know why that's an option to wait it out. But either way, I think that this is a cool way of simplifying the whole Layton mysteries section that's been present in pretty much every game. But on the other hand, it also is a huge detriment to the narrative. Because while each individual mystery is fun to solve, even if they're not particularly grand, in fact, most of them are rather comical, lighthearted, and family-friendly, and the very soft violin and flute music effortlessly exemplifies this. However, the game's lack of an overall plot arc is what really kills the story. Instead of this grand mystery that you're trying to reveal over time, you sort of are dropped into the ending sort of out of nowhere. And it's like you only had maybe about a half hour to 45 minutes to get your bearings straight before the mystery was already solved in case 12. And then, to make things even worse, is the biggest mysteries that the game presents to you aren't solved at all. Which, now granted, that could be forgivable if this game has a sequel come along, but the thing is, it's not billed as though it needs a sequel. So me not knowing that there might be a sequel, I was just like, okay, are they ever going to answer those questions? Well, unless they release DLC in the future to make more story elements like Breath of the Wild is doing, I guess not. I guess we're just going to have to be patient. Unfortunately, that's not even the worst part of this game. By far, Layton's Mystery Journey's biggest stumbling point is the puzzles. Layton games were kind of a love-hate relationship for me since Curious Village, because I tried to play a little bit of that game, but the puzzles were just too brutally tough. But I was willing to plow through it for the sake of Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, even buying my 3DS for that game. But Layton vs. Wright has a very newbie-friendly to its puzzles. It makes good use of the 3DS's hardware. The hint coins are actually really helpful, and only on the very, very last puzzle in the game, which, not to be confused with the last puzzle, the one in the DLC episodes, did I have to look for a walkthrough for. Turn it the other way around, and you've got this game. This game has the biggest collection of infuriating duds of puzzles I have ever had the misfortune to play. I've lost track of how many times I had to go on the internet to look up the solution to a puzzle, because unlike Versus, the hint coins don't give you pictures to give you a visual representative. So, as a result, the hint coins are often so vaguely and poorly worded, and the instructions for the puzzles are usually not much better, that half the time I don't even know what I'm supposed to do, even with the hints. And it almost defeats the purpose of why is it called a super hint then? It just makes you wonder if the whole hint coin gimmick is a waste of time when you can just look it up. And part of the problem might not necessarily be Level 5's fault, because the main guy that designed the puzzles for all the previous Layton games recently passed away, but if this guy ever finds a way to translate this video into Japanese, let me politely say, you gotta work on explaining your puzzles better, and you gotta make them so that the solutions are much more intuitive for not only Layton fans, but also newbies to these kinds of puzzle-heavy games. Now, on the contrary, they don't really shove puzzles in your face nearly as much as previous entries. Quite a few times you can bypass important story puzzles altogether. Not always, but most of the time. And because of the game's case basis, you can go back to a case and search for the puzzles you missed, and they even have an indicator above each landmark saying how many of the puzzles you have left and how many hint coins. So there's no more need for characters like Granny Riddleton to carry the puzzles, although Granny Riddleton still makes cameos here and there. Overall, though, if the game had better puzzles, I would probably say that this is a really great potential stepping stone into how Layton could be. The case-by-case basis is a cool concept, but if they don't eventually tie into each other like Ace Attorney's cases do, then it seems almost like a waste of a good idea. Nevertheless, not everything is really bad. The voice acting is hit or miss, with some performances being better than others, but none are, like, absolutely phenomenal like the previous Layton games. The music is also, for the most part, sorry about my random picking of the eye there. The music, for the most part, is also rather good. It never gets to the height of grand like Versus's music does, but it provides a comical, whimsical tone nonetheless that fits the mood like a glove. And unlocking extras with Pickerat is surprisingly easy to do in this game this time around, so you shouldn't be worrying too much about if you can get that amazing music player. It's totally worth it. So, Layton's Mystery Journey. Yay, hay, or nay, you're probably wondering. At this point, unless they fix it with DLC, I'm going to have to go with the hay. The horrendous puzzle structure and the lack of story resolution made me wishing that it could have been a nice evolution from what Versus established, but instead, it feels like not only a step back from his crossover, but a step back from his main games. And if it wasn't for Kat's amazing personality and the lovable music, I probably would have just given up after Case 1. So, give it a try only if you're a super duper diehard Layton fan. Just go in it for the puzzles, not the story. Assuming you can even put up with those. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that if there are any other Nintendo system related games that I can review, you'll please do so in the comment section. And until then, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.